Okay, great. So we're from PULSE, which stands for Peers Understanding, Listening, Supporting, and Educating, and it's a peer health education program on campus. And we're giving a presentation about stress management. So my name is Lizzie. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a third-year biochemistry major, and I'm a peer health educator for Mental Wellbeing.
And my name's Amanda, pronouns she, her, hers, and I'm also a peer health educator for the Real Mental Health and Wellbeing team with Pulse, and I am a fourth-year English major, so just about to graduate. So just to give a little idea of what we're talking about today, we'll identify some of the resources available through Pulse, and then we'll talk about stress specifically and just understanding the positive and negative aspects of it. Talk about some ways to reduce stress and implement stress management techniques and to improve your overall health, and then how to practice self-care and mindfulness techniques to aid in this stress reduction.
Okay, great. First, we'll dive into the campus resources. So underneath campus health and well-being, there are a few sections. So we have counseling services, medical services, and peer health educators. So all Cal Poly students have access to all of these different programs and like physicians and nurses and counselors and general health care. And then we are also under campus health and well-being as peer health educators.
Yeah, so specifically some of the resources offered by Pulse, there's kind of, I guess, 3 tiers of it. And these are one-on-one consultations, which with the real team, these were kind of before COVID, face-to-face, just one-on-one student sessions with our 3 coaches, Beth, Shivani, and Hope. Presentations and education, this is the main thing that really has been spring quarter and just still getting these resources out to students via Zoom and other methods. And then just different tabling events, and our overall mission with Pulse, which this stands for Peers Understanding, Listening, Supporting, and Educating, is just to provide kind of research-backed education to the student community. Yeah, we impart evidence-based information through these different methods and just reach out. Yeah.
So there are actually more teams than are shown here, but there are several teams under peer health education. And these are for that kind of started off, and we have other ones now as well. So there's a sexual health team that do a lot of like relationship health and also sex education and things like that. There's a nutrition and dietary team, and they help people who have different physical health goals that they're trying to reach. And our team is a mental well-being team, and so we talk a lot about what we're talking about in this presentation, like stress, homesickness, and all different parts of mental well-being. And there's a substance use and abuse team. So they're people that you might meet with if you ever get written up in the dorms or something like that, but they're also a really great resource for any different type of discussion regarding substance use and anything like that. There's also Mustangs for Recovery, which is a group for people who are recovering from different addictions. And then there's also general peer wellness educators who put on the event 31 Days of Wellness that's going on right now. So overall, there are a lot of different teams under Pulse. There's also SAFER. So there's a lot of students doing peer education.
Okay, and we just have a couple of other resources typically offered through Pulse that we wanted to mention. As we typically do in presentations, we have the Cal Poly Food Pantry, and this is something that a lot of students, we're very spread out, so it's not necessarily an access right now, but just something that under normal circumstances is always there for students who need it. Yeah.
And I know right now, I think it is open weekdays from 10 to 2. Yeah. So it's still open. And also, when we are in person, there is a massage chair that you can use, and it's really nice. So hopefully, if we're able to be in person again sometime soon, people can start using it again, and you can do 30-minute sessions.
All right, so moving away from just the general resources that we provide into more of our topic today, we just wanted to start with a little bit of information on mental health. And this is something we always sort of start with, just because mental health as a whole sometimes can be overlooked. It's not just a matter of mental illness. Mental health is something that we all have, just like physical health, and it's comprised of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and it's something that affects how we think, feel, and act to ourselves and others just on a daily basis. And this can also affect how we're able to handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So just to stress as we're going in, that mental health is something that we all have and maintain, just like our physical health. And just similar to being physically healthy or physically ill, you can have perfect mental health while living with a mental illness, or you can have not be diagnosed with a mental illness, but just have a few days where you're having a rough time managing your mental health. Yeah.
So a lot of things impact your mental health, both in a negative or positive way, and also kind of depends on who you are, because different things affect people differently. So here we just have listed quite a few things that are considerations, and yourself can probably think of how each of these affect you. Like if your diet's a little different, this might make you in a great mood, or like if your diet's a little off one day, you might be in a different mood.
Okay, so then moving on to stress specifically, our main topic of today. Yeah,
Okay,
that's gonna.
sorry. So stress is our brain and body's reaction to a perceived physical or psychological threat. So when a stressor is present, our body has different responses. So you can probably think of when you feel stressed, your heart might be racing, you might get, I know I get a little sweaty, like different things start to happen. Um, so it's really common, I think, in students' life to feel stress around academics, but there's also so many other things that could be causing stress in your life.
Okay, just furthermore, there are different types of stress. Eustress is positive stress, and it tends to motivate people. And this is something that it typically lasts for a little while. It can feel exciting, it can improve performance, and it's perceived as within our coping abilities. It's not something that we really need to seek out resources to handle. And it's not something we really pay for physically. It can push us, and this could be something like even just the stress you have going on a date where you're worried, but you're also just kind of pushed to do better and you want it to be a really good experience. Where distress is a negative stress, it can cause anxiety and concern, and it can be short or long term, but it feels unpleasant. It can decrease our performance. And it's typically seen as outside of our coping skills and not something that we can just easily brush off or handle on our own. And this is something that can be caused by losing a loved one, financial struggles, or something just that has a slightly more long-term effect.
And one example that we sometimes give with this graph is when you have absolutely no stress, like maybe if you had like several weeks off with no work or school to do, you might just like get in the habit, like I do, of just watching Netflix all day and honestly not feeling that great because there's nothing I'm excited about or nothing to like work towards. But once I'm in school, I start to feel more like excited and there's lots of things to work on. So I'm like a little stressed, but it's mostly that positive, like, oh, like I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited to work on this. So that's the rocking it stage. But then, like Amanda was explaining, there are several factors that could kind of elongate this or start to make it a negative where you start to be performing less and feeling worse with the more stress that you have. So we're going to ask you guys to do this little activity, even though it's virtual, so it might be a little bit awkward. But we're just going to ask you, maybe we'll try it out right now, but also this is something that you can do anytime that you feel overwhelmed or stressed and you're not exactly sure where it's coming from. If you close your eyes for 30 seconds and take deep breaths and kind of just like locate sources of stress in your life. So right now we're going to try it. Okay, so please close your eyes or whatever comfort level you have and take several deep breaths in and out and think about all the aspects of your life and which ones are feeling negative, positive, exciting, not exciting right now. Okay, that really might not have been 30 seconds, but I don't have a watch on me. But hopefully you're able to find some things, find some sources of stress that you can identify, and also exercises like that are really great for grounding in general to kind of check in with yourself.
Okay, so now we can talk about a little bit about some of the physiological and just physical symptoms of stress, and just to distinguish really quick between acute and chronic stress. Acute is short-term, while chronic is long-term, but a little more specific. Acute can come from, say, an argument or being stuck in traffic or just facing some criticism, whereas chronic can come from maybe a lot of these things stacked up together and just having a more long-term exposure, and it's something that can affect you in a more long-term way. Acute stress, just some examples, can be headaches and upset stomach, muscle tension and pain, difficulty breathing, where chronic can be migraines, and then things more like an impaired immune system, sleep problems, impaired memory, and things that just kind of have a longer toll and a longer effect. Yeah.
So there are many reasons that reducing stress is a barrier. I think trying to reduce stress is a common trend in students' life. I know personally, whenever I talk to my friends, there's a lot of talk about like, I'm really stressed and I want to de-stress, but it seems like there's a disconnect on knowing how to do that. So the reasons why it might be hard to reduce your stress is because like Amanda was saying, you perceive it as outside your coping abilities. You perceive it as someone might perceive it as something that's too big to deal with. And being stressed can decrease your self-esteem and performance. So just overall, if you're not thriving, it might be harder to make any different changes to help yourself in your stress. And it can cause anxiety to think about needing to change and needing to alter your activities and things like that to reduce your stress.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see that you'd moved on to the next one. Okay, so everyone has different ways of coping with stress, and yeah, they can look different for every single person. So at this point in the presentation, we would ask you to think back to those sources of stress that you might have in your life right now. Just that hopefully with those breathing exercises, you can kind of try to locate. And we actually have another little breathing activity that we recommend that we'll go into right now, just to also talk about this.
Yeah, also, sorry, I meant to say this in the last slide, but I just wanted to say, so we introduced some barriers why it might feel overwhelming to try to reduce your stress, but that's what we're talking about now. So there are a lot of barriers, but hopefully through this presentation, we can give you some tips on how to reduce your stress. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna try a de-stress activity together. Restorative breathing, 3, 5, 7. So again, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes to your comfort level and try to sit comfortably with your feet flat on the ground and your back straight as you are comfortable with. And I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath in through your nose to the count of 3. Hold it for 5 seconds and exhale through your mouth gently for the count of 7. And to repeat this 3 more times. And I'll just ask you to do it on your own time. And me and Amanda can model it maybe, and then I'm not going to count for you guys, I don't think. Okay. Okay, so I just did it once and it felt really nice. I already feel a bit more grounded. So hopefully with that time you're able to try it out once. Amanda, did you want to lead this? Sorry, I wasn't sure if you wanted to lead.
Oh no, that's okay. I did just one little round of it right there too. And I think once you hit the exhale, it does kind of help just you feel some of that stress leave you. And it's really nice.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
definitely. This is a breathing exercise you can try anywhere. One thing I really like about breathing exercises is that you can even do them in class. I know that we don't have in-person class, so even now it's really maybe easier to take a break during class. Like you can even turn off your camera and just do some breathing exercises or leave it on. Like in person, I know I do sometimes I'll do breathing exercises in class because it's really incognito.
Yeah, sometimes you can't get up and take a break, or at least in those in-person sessions. So it's kind of nice to have a little way to just escape for a bit. And it might feel a bit awkward or weird the first time around, but I think it comes a lot more naturally the more you do it. And there's a lot of different exercises that are just slightly different and they can have different effects too. And there's a lot of them online that are really cool to find.
Definitely.
Okay, so now we've talked a lot about stress and just a couple of different breathing exercises for managing stress, but there's also other tools and things that we can implement and practice. A few of these that are more personal are time management, self-care, and mindfulness, which we'll go into, and then there's always resources that are available to you, either from campus or a lot of external sources as well. We'll go into those.
Awesome. So time management is a great skill to reduce your stress a little bit. So it can allow you to divvy up time between activities, increase efficiency and effectiveness because it provides a sense of organization. Um, I know that personally, when I do not have a schedule, I don't feel like I have enough time to take care of myself because I'll think I always need to be doing something. So for myself personally, I even have to schedule in like eat lunch and work out, things like that because they don't always like fit naturally into my mind when I'm like busy working on something. So when you're doing time management, you can think about including things like your activities and your classes, but also things that are not exactly those, like going for a walk or different things like that. If you also find yourself having a hard time just spontaneously doing those little activities.
Yeah. Okay, and here are some just various ways or tips for managing your time, just different things that you can do. And just another reminder that time management doesn't look the same for everyone, and some of us may utilize all of these strategies while others may need just one or none of them at all. But a really big thing that I've heard, especially currently, just with people having so much to do online but not in person, is just to-do lists and routine, just making some kind of structure for yourself, but also being really compassionate with that, even though you're being firm with how you manage your time. So just keeping those to-do lists small and using your time wisely to get what tasks you need to done, but kind of breaking it down and taking it day by day to not get overwhelmed, because that can lead to stress and kind of keep us from being as productive as we want to be. Staying organized and just ranking tasks in order of importance, but this doesn't have to be logical. It can be, accomplishing something really small to then encourage you and give you some confidence going into something really big, and just kind of, divvying them up that way. Spacing everything out, planning ahead so you're not rushing, starting early, and just giving yourself breaks. It's okay to schedule, 10 or 20 minutes or however long you need, go for a little walk, or just get up, get away from your computer, and make sure you're taking care of yourself that way as well. Yeah. So just take a second to reflect on your time management. But yeah, now we'll move into self-care.
So we define self-care as a lifelong daily commitment to making yourself a priority. So I think there's a lot of talk about self-care on social media right now, which is really great. And we'll talk a little bit more about it also. But it's important to remember that while sometimes representations of self-care are more, might seem a little surface level, like doing a face mask every like 3 weeks or something like that, it's important to keep in mind that self-care is most effective when it's something that you're thinking about every day and really prioritizing your health.
Yeah, and something that a reminder that we kind of put out there is that it's not selfish, and to take that time for yourself, it's very important. And just a little example is like, just like you need to change the oil in your car or you have to clean your bathroom, you need to maintain your body and your mind.
Yeah, definitely. And we also talk about how like it isn't selfish because I feel like a lot of people are people who focus on others and want to give back to others. So sometimes taking a minute for yourself can feel like you're taking a minute away from someone else. But it's important to keep in mind that that isn't true. And also, by taking care of yourself, you're better able to take care of other people. So a saying that's really common is that you can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to care for yourself before you can care for others.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
there
is
it
yeah,
is.
in the future with that one. Yeah, that's a saying that we push a lot, just that you have to take care of yourself to really be there in the best way for others. Because you don't want to burn out. You want to be your best self, and I think others want that for you too. So self-care, as we said, it includes decisions you make to care about your mental, physical, and emotional health. And proper self-care, it might leave you feeling a little tired right at first, depending on what you're doing, but overall it should leave you feeling healthy, relaxed, and ready to take on your responsibilities. And setting time aside for ourselves, it's overall just crucial for our well-being. And it's not necessarily just, self-indulging. It's striving to just be your healthiest and to take care of yourself and just be really compassionate with yourself in what ways that you need.
So I think we kind of just dived into a lot of why self-care is important.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just important so that you're able to thrive and feel your best self. And also, it helps your performance and your relationships and your ability to help others as well, which is always a positive.
Yeah, and especially as a student or someone, just if you're working a lot, it can help you prevent burnout in some ways, just taking time away from all of your tasks and responsibilities to make sure that, yeah, you can get through them in the best way. So here are just a few examples, just slowing down, being active, practicing mindfulness, and we have some more specific ones on the next slide. So I guess we can just hop on over to that one.
Awesome. So here are quite a few examples. I'll just read some of them. Connecting with someone you love or connecting with yourself, which is really important because I think there's often that pressure, it feels like, to always be or to often be doing something with other people. That's important to feel like you and yourself can have time. Um, I know that's really important for me to remember that like I can hang out with myself and have fun with myself. Accomplishing small tasks, as Amanda mentioned, that can really like build your confidence and your ability to complete things. Listening to music, crafting, mindfulness, which we'll talk about more, and exercising, and a real team consultation. So we really emphasize that consultations are for anyone and everyone. Yeah, you can come into a consultation with anything in mind to talk about or not sure what to talk about. And we really promote these because they are a great way to just have some time to talk to someone who's unbiased, completely unbiased about anything in your life that you want to talk about. For my specific examples, I work out while listening to Harry Potter on Audible, and it's such a good time. It really de-stresses me and allows me to just like breathe deeply and remember like the fun. Like I always have loved Harry Potter, as many people do, and so it reminds me of like a lot of things that I enjoy out of life, like watching movies and things.
Yeah, I think mine, I like to read a lot. As an English major, it's required so often, and I don't do it for fun as much as I used to, but it really does. It just makes me feel a lot more at ease when I'm doing it for fun. So that's a big thing for me. I also have a lot of cats, and you've probably seen tails coming into the camera while I've been on here, but I think spending time with them just kind of can really help with that and, yeah, calming me down. Yeah. Okay, so now we'll go into a little bit to mindfulness specifically. And this is something that it's a mental state achieved by focusing on one's awareness of the present moment while calmly, you see another cat, while calmly acknowledging one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. So it's just a state of really being in tune with yourself and how you're feeling, but not really judging that. You're kind of suspending judgment on those emotions. So we really emphasize, or mindfulness itself emphasizes, that there's no right or wrong way to feel. It's kind of just saying, this is where my body and my feelings are at right now, and then looking at why. It's a great technique for managing stress, just because it's kind of a first step in improving your mental well-being, just really getting to know yourself and why you respond to things different ways.
So there are lots of different ways to practice mindfulness. So such as checking in with yourself throughout the day. So I I do this a lot, especially when we had on-campus classes. I was walking around a lot in between classes. I would try to like take that time where I was walking in between classes to really like think about how like my limbs felt and like how my head felt walking around. Sorry, I think my cat's meowing. Okay, sorry. And now that we're online, that's still something that's totally possible. Just now it feels like I can almost do it anytime, because even in classes, I always have breaks in my classes and things like that. Using apps like Headspace can be really helpful to lead meditations. Talking with someone that you're comfortable with can really allow you to just, I know that sometimes when I'm talking to someone I'm comfortable with, all of a sudden like all this information comes out that I've been holding in subconsciously throughout the day. And it can be really nice to just appreciate like how I'm feeling in that moment. Going for walks, as we mentioned, just moving and being outside can help you connect with where you're at the moment. Journaling is a really great way to practice mindfulness. I know I really like it because I'll just end up like drawing and doodling, so it feels really natural and allows me to connect with myself in a different way.
Yeah, and I think it can be easy to compare to something like meditation, but they are different, and meditation can be a part of it, but I think meditation can be kind of daunting for people who've never done it before, or only a couple of times, where mindfulness, it's a little bit more isolated, and it can be achieved in these smaller, just little activities and moments of reflection, which is really nice. And then following this, we have a video about mindfulness and a little activity that we found really useful. I guess we could still play it and just have it picked up if the Zoom.
Yeah, let's try that and see. Hopefully it'll work. Can you guys see the YouTube?
Exercise 3. Leaves on a...
Do you guys see the
Yeah, we still just have the slide for now.
Okay, yeah, I can't click on there. So maybe you'll just send this link. Yes, does that work, Amanda?
Yeah, I think so. And just if you should be able to find it if you look it up on YouTube. And it is actually really useful as someone who is always really bad at tuning into myself. The first time I did this activity, I think in fall quarter of last year, it really made me feel, I think, the most peaceful I had in quite some time. So I really recommend it, just, looking at it.
Okay. Cool. Sorry about that. That's a breathing exercise that we really hope that you try. It's kind of similar to the ones that are on Headspace or apps like that kind of bring you through it. But there are quite a few ones that are on YouTube that are totally free, so we definitely recommend those as well. So exercise like that help to reduce stress by slowing down your heart rate, lowering your blood pressure, increasing blood flow to the major muscles, reducing muscle tension, improving concentration and mood, and boosting confidence. So as you can see, it kind of counterbalances different sensations that you might be having from stress. So we really recommend these. That video, I think it was only like 2.5 minutes. So they're pretty short and can be fit in throughout the day. So I definitely recommend trying those out.
Yeah, so now just kind of moving into our closing and talking about the various resources available. There are many provided by campus, and even if you're not there right now, a lot of them, they're still going and still available by phone or online. Counseling Services has crisis services, and there's always numbers available for you to call at any point of the day. And I'm pretty sure we have those numbers available later on. Pulse, we still are active as well and still giving this education and still here as a resource, and slow counseling services. And there's a lot of just from different sources online counseling available right now, as well as external resources. There's off-campus counselors, and we can at any point, I guess, walk through the stages of accessing them, or a doctor can, and then just American Psychological Association or tools and resources from the CDC, or pretty much anywhere else online. There's just resources available all of the time. We also just specifically, we just put out a COVID virtual mental health magazine, and that is, yeah, I think just finally became accessible, and links for that should be popping up around, but that has a lot of really good resources and information about just managing your mental health right now in this really weird and stressful time.
So here's the number for counseling services and Pulse and their different websites. So we really recommend that you look into those if you have any interest. And also, if you follow MySP Well on Instagram, they always post the information for events that we have going on and that other resources on campus have. So I recommend following that.
Yeah, and we also have a mental health dialogue group that is active every quarter, and typically that would meet in person every other week, and is just a really nice, safe space for people to talk about their experiences with mental health or mental illness, or just to open up about how their quarter is going. And that is still happening this quarter. There is one left, and that'll be Wednesday, June 3rd. 7 to 9 p.m. And you can just use the QR code to access that, as long as your Zoom account is linked to your Cal Poly account. But yeah, that's just a really important resource that's available, and that happens every quarter, always there. Yeah, so that would be the time for questions. I don't have any.
Me neither.
Yeah, but this, kind of brings this presentation to a close. But.
Well, thank you guys for listening to this presentation. We appreciate it. And as always, as we mentioned several times, Pulse is always here as a resource. So if you ever need a resource, we'd love to be your resource. So please come use Pulse if you ever want to.
Yeah, and any questions can be emailed to wellbeing@calpoly.edu, whether that's about this or just anything, I guess, related to well-being at Cal Poly or Pulse or our resources.